background on this property. In 2007, these properties were rezoned from R15 and RDA in the city, as well as R20 LRO in the county. It was partially annexed for a GC, general commercial zoning district, with 26,000 square feet of retail and a car wash. In 2021, the applicant came before Mayor and Council and had this property rezoned to mixed-use conditional from the GC zoning district for 163 multifamily units and a little over 20,000 square feet of commercial and restaurant space. The applicant is now requesting to amend that site plan and zoning conditions of the Z21-014 for the development of 45 townhomes and a 5,023 square foot drive-through restaurant, rather than reverting to the original GC zoning district. Staff is recommending maintaining the existing mixed-use conditional zoning district rather than reverting to GC, as that would allow over 100 plus uses that would not be appropriate in this area. This is the site plan that was approved in 2021. There was a 4 or 5 story multifamily building with a parking deck. Again, that had 163 units, 25 units per acre. And there was 20,409 square feet of commercial and restaurant space. I'll go over the proposed site plan. On the left side is 45 townhome units. We'll maintain the front and rear setbacks. There is a side setback reduction on the north side for a side setback reduction to 12 feet. Again, there are 45 fee simple townhomes rather than the rental multifamily that was proposed before. The units on the side will be front entry, and the units facing Oakdale and the interior units will be rear entry facing an amenity courtyard. That's the amenity green space with the mail kiosk. There's underground stormwater detention proposed in that area. Along South Cobb Drive, there's a full access drive for the townhomes with a deceleration lane. And then there's a full access drive on Oakdale Road for the townhomes. There would be a sidewalk, 5-foot sidewalk, 2-foot grass strip around the whole property for the townhomes and the commercial space. For the commercial space, they're maintaining the setbacks already approved for the previous plan. It's a drive-through restaurant, approximately 5,023 square feet, 67 parking spaces. There's a detached canopy over the menu board and the enclosure for the trash receptacles. Underground stormwater detention. There'll be a full access drive for the restaurant on Oakdale Road with a decel lane. And then on South Cobb, the same. Along Oakdale Road, there will be a 10-foot landscape buffer, street trees and any kind of buffering trees that are needed. And then adjacent to the townhomes, there will be a buffer between those two uses. Again, there's a 5-foot sidewalk, 2-foot grass strip, and right-of-way dedication where needed on South Cobb Drive. All of the improvements on South Cobb Drive will be reviewed and approved by GDOT, Georgia Department of Transportation, and any transportation improvements that are within the county's jurisdiction will be approved by the county during land disturbance permitting. There are 5 variances. One is to allow a reduction in the external side setback for the townhomes from 25 feet to 12 feet. 2 is to allow a drive-through restaurant in the MU zoning district. 3 is to allow drive-through facilities and queuing lanes be located between the restaurant and the adjacent street. 4 is to allow an additional accessory structure for the menu board canopy. And 5 is to allow a garbage dumpster visible from the public street for the restaurant. However, it will have a brick enclosure and will be screened. These are some conceptual elevations of the townhome units that are proposed for the front and rear entry. And this is the elevations for the restaurant. Some pictures of the subject property and adjacent properties. Staff is recommending approval of the zoning amendment to revise the site plan and elevations of Z21-014 in the MU conditional zoning district for 45 townhome units at 10 units per acre and a 5,023 square feet drive-through restaurant with the following conditions. Standard conditions, requiring underground utilities, no burning of construction debris. They will meet our tree ordinance and landscape plans. Special conditions regarding the setbacks. As previously mentioned, they will have to meet all fire access requirements, water and sewer improvements, and stormwater improvements. They will have the 5-foot sidewalk, 2-foot grass strip for the external sidewalks. 15, they will have to receive approval from GDOT. 16, it shall not be gated. 17, requires the deceleration lane on South Cobb Drive. And 19, a deceleration for the commercial property on Oakdale Road, as well as a right turn lane on Oakdale Road at South Cobb Drive. Where they're crossed out are the conditions from the previous zoning that don't apply anymore. 23 requires them to remove any trees in the sight distance triangles on Oakdale Road. 25 requires a minimum 172 parking spaces that's combined for both. 26 is the variance not to require a consistent building edge along a public sidewalk and off-street parking to be allowed between the commercial building and the right-of-way. Those were previously granted. 31, the dumpsters shall be positioned to prevent visual intrusion and be screened by landscaping, walls, or vegetation. 32 is maximum residential units not to exceed 45 townhome units. All of these dealt with the multifamily units. 37 and 38 tie this to the site plan elevations submitted with the application. 40 is the variance to allow a drive-through restaurant. 41 is the variance to allow the queuing lanes and the drive-through facilities. 42 is to allow the additional accessory structure. 43 and 44, 43 is to allow the dumpster to be visible from the public street. 44, they will be required to replace any curbs in the city. 45, they will have to provide documentations of conditions of storm drain systems. 46 is a 10-foot landscape buffer on the external boundaries and of Oakdale Road and 5 feet on South Cobb Drive. 47, any townhome elevation visible from a public right-of-way shall not utilize hardy plank siding. that's all. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, do we have any questions for Mr. Staubs? No? Okay, thank you, Joey, well done. All right, this time we'd like to have the applicant come forward and tell us a little bit about the application. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for the time. My name is Park Lammerts. I'm with Eris. 1810 Horsham Trail is my address. As Joey mentioned, we are requesting an amendment to our previously approved plan to reduce the density from 163 multifamily units to 45 townhome units and then 20,000 square feet of retail down to 5,000 square feet of Class A restaurant space. So we, have owned this property for a number of years. Over the past few years, we've diligently pursued financing and capital markets options and equity options to get the previously approved plan underway. Unfortunately, due to a number of different things, declining rents, capital markets, changes in the economy, it has not allowed us to get this project out of the ground. So we feel like this amended plan will allow us to move forward with a project that can be built in today's market, as well as reduce the density and comply with the surrounding uses in the area. So certainly, again, appreciate the time and would be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions for the applicant? Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that the plans, one of the stipulations is it shall not be gated. And there is a landscape buffer, planted buffer between the restaurant and the residential.
Correct.
And there is no driving between the two, which is fine. I have a question regarding, is there going to be any sort of barrier, or I'm just thinking of future homeowners?
Sure.
And, complaints that the city might field about, people encroaching from the restaurant parking lot into anyone's home or their,
Right.
Their personal space. So I'm just wondering, and this might also be a question for Rusty, or Joey, is there any sort of city code that would allow some sort of a barrier that would keep foot traffic from going? I know you might want to connect them with some sort of foot access, but is there anything to keep people from parking in
Right.
residential and then going to the restaurant?
Yeah, we do, and we do have a national home builder that we are working with on this, and we have discussed it with them, and they plan to do, and we will have an updated landscape plan for council that will show kind of what sort of, I do foresee some sort of either natural vegetative buffer or fencing that would separate the two, because I agree.
just perceive that.
Yeah, I don't think you want to look
And maybe not even in a destructive manner.
Yep.
Maybe children, going into a townhome and possibly getting hit by, residential traffic.
Yep.
Just something to be proactive. I know that there's not, you can do it a lot, you can do at this phase, other than, GDOT gets to say whether or not you can do what you want to do ultimately.
Right.
With the ingress and egress to the properties, but I'm just thinking of what you can do proactively in between, since you're the developer for both the residential
Sure.
and the restaurant.
Yeah, I think that's a great point and something that I don't see any issues having some sort of a separation between the two. I think both sides would probably want that and find that warranted.
You good?
That's all.
Thank you, Jill. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. At this time, we'd like to ask if there's anyone in attendance that would like to come forward and speak in favor of or opposition to this application. We just ask that you come forward one at a time. We want to give everybody the opportunity to have their voice heard. We do ask that we keep the repetitive comments to a minimum, but we want to hear your voice. So if you would now come forward. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak here. My name is Mike Kennedy. I'm a property owner of 5003 and 5011 Oakdale Road, directly across from the proposed development. I'm here tonight really to oppose the proposed Chick-fil-A. We all saw the logo. We know it's Chick-fil-A. And because of the public safety and neighborhood impacts this project would create for people who are living along Oakdale Road. This proposal would directly affect approximately 40 homes along Oakdale Road and nearby streets, or homes that were not designed to sit next to not high density, but high intensity drive-through use. First, it's important to recognize this is not a simple intersection. Oakdale Road and South Cobb form a 5-point intersection, which already makes movement more complex and less predictable than a standard 4-way intersection. 5-point intersections are uncommon in Smyrna. And when the city does have them, they typically require special attention and careful traffic management because of their complexity. Drivers here are already dealing with multiple turning moves, signal phases, and sightline challenges. A couple examples here is as you enter onto South Cobb Drive to get to Church Road, drivers have to make a semicircle to actually get to that road. On Church Road, there's no right on red. The reason there's no right on red because there could be potential impact with drivers approaching South Cobb Drive from Church Road. Chick-fil-A is not a typical fast food restaurant. These locations are well known for generating very high traffic volumes, especially in the drive-through with long lines extending, idling during peak periods. I think that's the case for the current site as well. I mean, that traffic actually does back up onto South Cobb Drive at Highland Parkway as it is. And what concerns me the most is the application includes no traffic impact studies. No drive-through stacking analysis, no peak hour modeling to show how the level of traffic would function next to a busy 5-point intersection. The site plan shows labeled Q story lengths, but doesn't show the measured distance from the intersection curb radius to the drive-through entrance itself, which is, I guess, I'd look to be around 125 feet. So as you're entering onto Oakdale Road, you have to make an immediate left into the entrance. The site plan, so there's no clear demonstration that a drive-through traffic will stay fully on site with the cues that won't spill back towards the intersection. For high volume drive-through immediately next to a complex intersection, that's critical missing information there. When Chick-fil-A sites get overwhelmed, and many do, we've all been there, we've all eaten there, the lines do not stay on the property. They spill into the nearby streets. At a 5-point intersection, this means sudden stops, block turning movements, and distracted drivers. For the 40 households along Oakdale Road, this directly affects their ability to safely enter and exit their neighborhood. Oakdale Road is also part of a local school bus routes. Within the proposed development corridor, there are 3 school bus stops. Along all of Oakdale, there are 7 stops, and they all enter through South Cobb onto Oakdale Road. So buses on the road in the early morning and afternoon hours, the same times as Chick-fil-A experiences heavy demand. The school bus times are between 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning, in the afternoon between 2:30 and 4:30. So navigating a 5-point intersection is already challenging enough for a large bus. Adding unpredictable drive-through traffic increases for bus drivers and the children. There's no analysis in this application addressing school bus operation or student safety. To me, this is a step backwards, but I also want to talk about the noise, the air quality, and the quality of life, especially because this proposal removes protections that were previously included on their plans of a sound wall. In the old site plan, a sound wall was included. On the current plan, there's no sound wall. Removing the sound wall allows these impacts to reach further into Oakdale Road neighborhoods and the 40 nearby homes. There's also an issue of air quality. Stop-and-go traffic and idling concentrate exhaust in one location, including fine particulate pollution that is extremely harmful for children, seniors, and people with asthma. These impacts are daily, they're not occasional. From the planning standpoint, this may reduce parking, but there is more intense use that was previously considered for this site. Yet it comes with fewer mitigation measures and no supporting studies. So this is moving in the wrong direction. Approving this without solid analysis places the burden on the neighborhood first and asks the questions later. And once it's built, these impacts cannot be undone. So I respectfully ask the board to deny the application or at least defer it until there's a clear evidence that Chick-fil-A will not compromise safety at the 5-point intersection, disrupt school bus routes, or become a daily nuisance for the 40 homes along Oakdale Road. And until protections like the previously proposed sound wall are restored. So, anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Anybody else? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Parrish. I've lived off of Oakdale Road in the Oakdale Estates subdivision for almost 20 years now. So I have a ton of experience with traffic backup and so forth on Oakdale Road. Mike Klopp mentioned briefly how traffic backs up under normal circumstances, but if there's a hiccup somewhere on I-285 until you get to the I-20 interchange, people bail out on Atlanta Road, cut through West Village, and then come back down Oakdale Road, where I've seen cars backed up as far as 25 or 30 in depth. It's impossible to make a left-hand turn onto Oakdale Road under current circumstances. Having said that, I'm also concerned about the impact of the traffic in the 5-point intersection. I understand that Cobb County nor GDOT have approved any changes to lanes and/or traffic controls. If that's not the case, then I apologize, but that's what I believe at this point in time. The impact is a nuisance to all of us and affects the quality of life for people that have enjoyed living in a somewhat quiet community for a number of years, which under these current circumstances, if it is allowed, will change the complete complexity of that area. And I oppose that, and that is all I have to say at this time. And would sign up afterwards with our address and so forth?
Yeah, if you could you state your address for the record, please, Mr. Parrish?
2159 Oakdale Estates Court, Smyrna.
Thank you very much for that, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. I am Amy Schaefer, and I reside at 2133 Park Avenue.
Can you say your name again? I'm sorry.
Amy Schaefer.
Amy Schaefer, thank you.
And not to begrudge the point, but I also would like you guys to oppose the fast food portion of this development for a few reasons, mostly related to the traffic and the quality of life as a resident who has to drive up and down the Oakdale corridor to access my home every day from work. The issue that I have mostly is that replacing the apartments with townhouses does reduce the density in theory, but then adding a 5,000 square foot fast food restaurant of the magnitude of a Chick-fil-A does not negate that density decrease. It actually increases the amount of traffic that will be accessing that 5-point intersection and Oakdale Road. Chick-fil-A is considered a high-volume traffic generator by design. They design their restaurants to bring extra traffic through and get people through quicker, which brings more people to the restaurant. We estimate from research online, since there hasn't been a traffic study to support this at this intersection, that it will be approximately 2,300 vehicle trips per day is what is used by the ITE land use code for fast food restaurants of that size. So when you add in 2,300 more vehicles in that intersection, there's not capacity for that at this point, and it's going to spill over onto Oakdale. Additionally, when you're adding in a turn on Oakdale that doesn't currently exist, you're going to have two-way turning traffic at an intersection that can't accommodate the current traffic. that's only going one way and turning onto South Cobb, and now you're adding an additional turn, well, they'll be left and right turning through this backup of queued traffic, which is also going to cause additional traffic nightmares, traffic incidents and whatnot. And my understanding, which may be wrong, but my understanding is that previously Oakdale Road was not allowing commercial development to have access on Oakdale, as evidenced by the dentist office and the surveying office is not having access on Oakdale to their businesses. They only can be accessed from South Cobb. So for those reasons, I request that you guys review this and at the very least, do request a traffic study before you approve it.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. And Joey or Rusty, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. There will be a traffic study done for this project, is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
The project will be reviewed by the jurisdictions that are in charge of the
Okay.
right-of-ways. So Cobb County will look at this.
GDOT will look at
GDOT
this.
will review it.
Okay.
You can talk to the applicant and ask them for clarification.
Okay.
But I believe they've already started those initial conversations and preliminary meetings with those jurisdictions to have an idea of what is needed from an improvement standpoint before they get all the way through the process and find out they got to
Right.
do something else.
Right, okay. So to make this thing a little bit more complicated, we have three governments involved, right? GDOT, which is state, obviously, Cobb County, and the city of Smyrna, right? So when we're done with the public component part, we'll ask the applicant to come back and speak to it as much as they can at this point.
And just from a clarification standpoint, they will not get, if this gets approved, there will not be the issuance of a development permit until all jurisdictions are satisfied. So we will not issue a permit for development until we receive approval from GDOT and we receive
Cobb
approval from Cobb County on those portions of the development.
Got it. All right. Thank you. And thank you guys for letting me take that to just try and help with, there will be more work done on this plan. So who's next? Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. I would request the council, if you can put up on the screens, instead of me, a picture of Exhibit B from the
Well,
already existing material.
I don't know if we have that technology available, but will you do me a favor and state your name and address for the record to get started?
Absolutely. My name is Deborah Stallman Forsman, and I live at 2228 Misty Lane, which is directly across from the proposed site.
Thank you.
If anyone has in their materials that they could see this either proposed site plan.
Yeah, do we have the proposed site plan that we can throw up on the screen?
Yeah, it's right in front of me, but I'd like everybody to see so that I could note. It does describe as Exhibit B, which is more like a satellite view
Yeah.
of it. I don't know how to change it. So I'd like to address a little bit more of a human element to this, that the site plans don't necessarily highlight the fact that the residential area off of Oakdale is single-family homes that have been there for decades, almost a century. And building on this street would create where the bus stops are, okay, where the site plan is proposed, the drive-through, which is now a double drive-through, will be located approximately 30 to 40 feet, maybe 50 feet, away from bus stops where our children stand. And they stand there in the morning while there's the highest traffic at a Chick-fil-A, double traffic. And these children may even be tempted to walk across Oakdale so that they could get into the Chick-fil-A and have chicken nuggets. So we are talking about children from elementary, middle school, and high school walking across Oakdale during high traffic peak areas as well as traffic trying to get in and out of that area while our kids are standing at their bus stop if they're not trying to get to Chick-fil-A. So I'd like to note that that's not necessarily being highlighted. I'd like to make sure that's highlighted. That is basically 83% of the parcels. So 6 out of 8 of the parcels are actually up against bus stops. And I believe that this presents a safety hazard for our children as well as pedestrians in that area. I'd like to note right here that recently the Silver Comet Trail was connected to Oakdale, which creates a larger pedestrian traffic as well as bicyclists. So there are people out there who are walking that are going to be interfering or a part of this high-intensity traffic area for the proposed double drive-through. So I do want to note for the council that this is a plan that I do not want approved. I do oppose it, and that is all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, council.
All right, for the record, we're the zoning board. The council's a completely
sorry.
different group. They
Zoning.
see me letting you call us council, I'll get in trouble later.
Sherman, okay. My name is Kate Shaw. You can call me the Walking Wounded if you want. I live on Misty Lane. I live 2 homes down from the proposed site. I'd also like to note that this morning I entered into the record a legal memo for review. I have additional comments that I won't bore you with repeating everything that's in that legal memo, but I do want to note that that was entered this morning. I remain concerned that the Planning Commission is being asked to approve a de facto commercial rezoning based on stacked variances. I remain concerned that this is not a zoning amendment, but rather a functional rezoning to high-intensity commercial use. I previously shared safety concerns about the school bus stop, which is directly adjacent to the order-taking portion of the drive-through lane. An assessment of child pedestrian safety or bus route safety was not addressed in the planning memo, despite my concerns. I believe that evaluation of those safety facts are required and that the risk of child pedestrian safety adjacent to a drive-through rests on your shoulders as well. In referencing the applicant's statements and the staff memo, I'd like to also look at Exhibit B, and in the response to question 1, I'd like to note that describing these parcels as being adjacent to commercial, townhomes, and multifamily is a bit of a mischaracterization. If you look along these 5 parcels on the east, you look at the bottom of that triangular pie piece, where all those trees are, that's 40 homes. Misty Lane is 20 homes. Oakdale Estate is 20 homes. And if you do the math on these parcels, you will find that 83% of the parcels abut single-family residential. This project is being characterized as the South Cobb Corridor commercial. It's a residential neighborhood. In question 3, the applicant and staff comment on reasonable use, making many comments about market conditions and economic use. The city record reflects that recently proposals were reviewed for a 250 multifamily unit, a 3 to 4 story senior living home. Market conditions are no different for this site than other recent proposals you have heard. This amendment stems from an economic preference of the developer only. Economic preferences do not constitute reasons to approve amendments. Section 4 a burden on streets. It may be repetitive to address this again, as I think some of the other neighbors have already commented on it. I would add that in the staff memo, it does not say anywhere that it's subject to Cobb County approval. It also doesn't mention the Cobb Department of Education. Also doesn't address any of the bus stops and whether or not Cobb County has been contacted. I myself contacted Georgia DDOT and Cobb County not long ago, and they had not heard of this proposal. The developer may have spoken to them since I last did. In regards to future land use, this is zone CAC, low to medium intensity. I think no question exists about whether a double drive-through Chick-fil-A constitutes high-intensity use. This is fundamentally incompatible with the 2040 future land use plan. Policy number 6 of CAC states, transition in scale and intensity is expected between the central CAC uses and surrounding lower intensity neighborhoods. No transition exists. We have queuing lanes. No mitigation exists. We have trees 40 feet apart. None of those mitigate according to CAC policy number 6. With regards to the memo number 6, both the developer and staff claim that this is actually a reduction in density, when I think that it's already been spoken to that the true metric at hand here is trips per day and traffic intensity. Respectfully, kicking the responsibility of safety studies to other jurisdictions or other departments allows this project to move forward and shifts the risk to the children, the homeowners, and does not guarantee, and the mayor and council do not have the ability to enforce once it's past that. If the applicant seeks a commercial drive-through use, I believe the appropriate path is a commercial rezoning. I respectfully request to recommend denial, or at a minimum to send this back through the proper rezoning process, rather than approving a functionally commercial rezoning through stacked variances. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Anybody else? Good evening and welcome.
My name is Walt Robidoux. I live at 2150 Oakdale Estates Court. I've lived here for 20 years. And I can tell you right now, when you try to drive on Oakdale Road, heading towards the light on South Cobb Drive, between 4 and 6 o'clock, you're going to sit in that lane for 4 light changes before you could even reach where my house is because of the traffic. And we don't have anything there now but trees. You start running people through there, going to Chick-fil-A, and believe me, they're popular. You're going to have a problem that's going to be out of this world. So you really need to consider that. When you're looking at this, that's the big problem. And it's been brought up about the children and the buses. That's all part of it too, but not even counting that. Just trying to get home at that time. It's a chore. So please don't forget that.
Thank you, Mr. Robidoux. Did he state his address? Okay, got it. Okay. Anybody else? Hey, we prefer quality of content over volume, I promise. Like, you guys have done a great job. You've been very civil. We totally appreciate it. We're all neighbors, right? We're all here because we want Smyrna to be a better place, and you got a stake in that claim, right? So if that's all the neighbors that want to speak, I'm going to call the public hearing at 6:46 as far as the public hearing component. In my meetings, I like to balance it out as much as possible. Anytime we have a disparity where the applicant speaks for 2 or 3 minutes and we have, 15, 20 minutes of public comment, I want to give them an opportunity to answer any questions, all right? So at this time, I'm going to let the applicant come back and see if they can address and allay any of the fears, concerns of the neighbors. And if you ever watch one of my meetings, I don't suggest it. I try to do this every time, so this is not something special for the applicant. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks again. So a couple things, and I may let these guys come up and talk about the traffic and some other things because they're the experts. But we have, to Joey's comment, we have reached out to GDOT. They have reviewed this preliminarily. We obviously have to go through the necessary channels to make sure that everything we're doing is within safety and within GDOT and the county and the city specs. So that process will take place, but we have contacted GDOT. They have reviewed the plan. They gave us a couple comments, but all in all, all of our lengths and distances were within the realm of what they wanted to see. So that has been addressed. I know there was a comment of that this is just a more profitable deal for us. I know someone tried to zone a 250-unit deal. I can say that I know, they've been doing this a long time, and all sites are not created equal. Trying to get financing on a mixed-use project with only 163 units and 20,000 square feet of non-street facing commercial on a site that has significant rock, which makes deep foundations nearly impossible and cost prohibitive, is a lot different than trying to zone a site with 2,500 square feet and over 250 units. So there are, some things that play into this that are not just, that are a little deeper below the surface that to understand from a capital market standpoint. So I guess the only other thing on the screening, and maybe I'll let you guys speak to this on what's possible for the screening and the on the Chick-fil-A piece. I will say that the Chick-fil-A piece is below grade, anywhere between 10 feet and 6 feet below Oakdale along there. So it is, it's not really going to be cars just queuing up right next to Oakdale. There's going to be a significant wall, and I'm sure there are certainly some screening options and mitigations we can do to limit that effect. And we certainly understand all the comments and certainly want to take them all to heart and try to find ways to work with them.
I appreciate that,
Yeah,
Mr. Parks.
absolutely.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is David Kirk. I'm a land use attorney practicing at the firm of Troutman Pepper Locke, 600 Peachtree Street, Northeast in Atlanta, here representing Chick-fil-A. I am not the technical expert, so if you have technical questions, we have a bunch of folks here who know a lot more about that than I do. Let me speak to just a couple of things. First, you have a great staff. They have looked at this very carefully. They have looked at your plan. They find it's consistent with your plan. They find that it meets all the criteria for approval, and I would strongly suggest that you rely on your staff and their work and approve this. Second, with regard to the concerns about traffic and this being a double drive-through and therefore it will have more traffic and more impact on Oakdale Road, that's actually the exact opposite of what this is intended to do. The current Chick-fil-A has a single drive-through. If I'm not mistaken, the operator is here, so he can answer that in more detail if you want. This design, the proposed site plan that you have before you tonight, effectively triples the ability to have cars on the site. So that will likely eliminate any sort of backup into the site beyond the drive-through and certainly onto neighboring streets. In addition, there's a new Chick-fil-A that has recently opened on, is it Mableton Road? In Mableton, which will somewhat reduce the demand take the pressure off of this particular site. So I would respectfully suggest that this, in fact, the design will keep traffic on site, allow for much more efficient use of the site than before. There was a mention of landscaping. Certainly, we can work with staff to enhance the landscaping along Oakdale Road if that would be helpful, if they believe it would be helpful. And as Mr. Martin pointed out, with regard to coordination with Georgia DOT and Cobb DOT, Kendra, who's our expert here, has had those preliminary discussions with them, and if you have specific questions about that, I'm going to have to defer to her. But again, the staff has looked at this very carefully. This is effectively, it's essentially has the effect of a downzoning. You're going from 163 residential units to about a quarter of that. You're going from 20,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space to, again, about a quarter of that. So I would respectfully suggest that, in fact, will reduce the intensity and reduce the impact on neighboring properties. Thank you very much. If you have any questions for the team, again, we have a whole range of experts here.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Mr. Kirk. If anybody else wants to add anything, feel free. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for your time. My name is Kendra Lewis. My address, for the record, is 220 East Central Parkway, Altamont Springs, Florida. Came quite a ways to be here tonight. So the only additional things that I wanted to add was that the South Cobb Drive entrance will likely be the primary entrance that most vehicles will be at least entering the site. And then, as mentioned, the traffic study was a big point of concern, and there is at least a preliminary study that has been done. So that study was taken into consideration when this site plan was designed, which included those deceleration lanes to assist with the traffic. As Mr. Kirk already mentioned, the drive-through stacking from the existing store down the street, currently it's a single lane, it only holds about 15 vehicles. So this drive-through is not only does it hold more vehicles, about triple the amount, it's isolated from the parking to where if you, I know many of you have eaten at Chick-fil-A's and seen the drive-through just continue to wrap around the building, and then it, kind of prevents, flow of the parking lot in general. So that's also, this design addresses that with an isolated drive-through lane. Let's see. I feel like that's about all. David hit the majority of the other points, but I appreciate your concern and your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Could I ask her a question?
Sure. Ms. Lewis, you mind if get one question out of you?
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
My name's Jill. Hi. You mentioned that the Oakdale, and I know this is not set in stone, but you made mention in your little presentation that the Oakdale entrance would not be the primary, that the design, that by design, the primary entrance is South Cobb Drive. And because one jurisdiction owns South Cobb Drive and another one in the county, in the state and what have you. And you also mentioned that there has been a preliminary traffic study. Has there been any discussion, and you may not be privy to this, but I think it would interest the homeowners, if you are, you're not out and out stating no one can use the Oakdale entrance, but if you are proposing that it is more of a primary entry and exit from South Cobb, would there be any way to bring up so that GDOT, because Smyrna does not get to decide, Smyrna just decides what's on the parcel there. Would there be any way to add to a discussion perhaps to somewhat try to allay the concerns of the homeowners by directing all the traffic to come out to the right, as opposed to all of the children and all of the numerous homes and bus stops that would be out to the left. And also perhaps incoming in the morning, not allowing a left-hand turn into the back. Perhaps then directing everybody who wants to go in from South Cobb to try to work with your homeowners. This is not in my ward. I'm not like speaking, like picking sides or anything. I'm just trying to think of things that might be topics of discussion, or has any of that even been addressed yet, or do you have that knowledge? How far has it gone? Because you said there has been some back and forth.
Yes, yeah, no, that's a great question, and there's been some minor discussions about that. Of course, I believe Chick-fil-A's preference would be to have full access on both roads. And as you mentioned, yes, there are multiple agencies. So Georgia Department of Transportation has jurisdiction over South Cobb Drive. So that's the anticipated, that's the busiest road, that's the anticipated, primary entrance there. And then as Mr. Stubbs mentioned, Oakdale Road's jurisdiction is a combination of city jurisdiction and county jurisdiction. So once we get past this initial planning phase, then we would get into, the nitty-gritty of the civil engineering plans. And I think that's when more discussion could be had. I would have to defer to, Chick-fil-A and the design team on, I believe from what I'm hearing, you're proposing maybe a right-in and right-out only on Oakdale Road.
It's just a question,
Yeah.
not necessarily a proposal, because I don't know when the county gets to speak on Oakdale Road.
Right.
They will, I would imagine, I don't, go to the county hearings and stuff, but I would imagine that they will take their school children, because we don't have city schools in Smyrna. We have Cobb County schools that we are part of, so I would imagine that the county is the final say on that, even if we were to say we're in favor of it. So, that's, just, there should be a way to not necessarily make everybody happy, but take steps to try to work with everyone.
Yeah, I think the team would be open to more discussions about that.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Kendra. All right. All right, we're going to go ahead and close it off now. It gives about 25 minutes to the public hearing and another 12 or so for the applicant. All right, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Z25-015 as presented.
And motion to approve, Mr. Carter. Do I have a second?
I second that.
How about a second from Ian? All in favor of the motion, please vote. Really? So the motion is approved 3-2. Is that right? Is that what it did? Earl, did you vote? Okay. Earl's a nay. Jill's a nay. So we have an approval 3-2. Sorry, guys, I'm slow at counting up here, especially when I'm having to go back and forth. Clearly, there's, some work to be done on this. I do appreciate you guys, all your patience and professionalism. We live in a world that's devoid of that far too often. The next item on our agenda is the approval. Is Mr. Phillips or Mr. Howard still here? Hold on, we
Mr.
can't.
Chair, can I just reiterate, the mayor and council meeting is
Yes.
February 16th.
My bad.
That will be a final vote. This is a recommendation.
Yes, the final vote will be May 16th. February 16th, 2026, in this chamber. Thank you. All right. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes as presented. We got a motion, Mr. Rice. Do I have a second? Second. And this is going to be a fun one. Vote to approve the minutes. You guys are going to have to abstain. Abstain. So we have a motion to approve 402. That's a vote we've never had before. All right. As a matter of, not even, there's no procedure associated with it. This application was in Ward 7. Recently, Henriette Ostrega, who has served here for many years, fantastic member of this commission, did an excellent job of studying what we were working on, visiting the sites. She's not here tonight because she is being replaced, but as a public record, I want to thank her for her time here. She did an excellent job, and she will be sorely missed. There is one other thing that I want to, I want to thank Ian and Jeff. They're new members. Welcome tonight. You got your bath of fire. Not all meetings are this civil, and that's a credit to you guys. So welcome to the commission, and thank you for your service. And then finally, the city has had a rough week. We mourn the loss of a good friend and a great steward of our city, Eric Randall, the Public Works Director, who passed away on Wednesday. He will be sorely missed, and thoughts and prayers to his family. With that, are there any other comments? All right. The meeting is called at 7:03.